And hello, and welcome to number 4 of the Paranormal Files, the Oak Ridge Connection. So, before I get started with this today, I would like to do a little bit of housekeeping if I can. Um, to start with, let's go over the Facebook situation. On Facebook, we have the Magical Journey group, which is a really good place for all things Magical Journey, including some extras, and you can also find some photos that I publish over there of things from the files itself. Also on Facebook, you can find the Magical Journey page, which will give you all the insight into uh, things being published on the channel right now, and the Paranormal Files page, which will give you all of the episodes um, as they're posted on the Paranormal Files. Uh, Along with that, we have magicaljourney.com, which is your one stop source for all of my links, um, upcoming information. There is a blog for the paranormal journals there, and also some pieces of information, such as guest appearances that I do on other shows, which will be posted there. And that site gets updated frequently, so do check it out. That is magicaljourney.com. Also, if you will, please like, share, comment, and most importantly, subscribe if you have not already to this channel today. With that said, let's get started with today's episode, which is Oak Ridge High Strangeness. So, Oak Ridge, Tennessee is very, very well known for one thing in particular, and that is it is called the Secret City, and it's called the Secret City for a very, very good reason. Um, the creation of Oak Ridge was really about the Manhattan Project, and surrounding the city was built specifically to um, be the center point of one of 3 secret cities that would be involved in the creation of the first atomic weapons. Now, here's some things about Oak Ridge that's very fascinating. Um, and there is a lot of speculation as to why Oak Ridge is a paranormal hotspot, but it is a paranormal hotspot. There is literally any type of activity that you can have that is paranormal in nature seems to happen in Oak Ridge. Um, Hauntings are not um, unheard of there. 3 of the areas in particular that are really well known for hauntings: the Alexander Inn, which is currently a senior citizen complex. It's assisted living there. It is There's not a lot known about Alexander Inn, but one of the things that is definitely known is that there have been reports of sounds of people walking up the stairs whenever someone enters the building. Um, the It was the first building that was actually built in the secret city in 1943. Another area, another building that is really well known for being haunted is the George Jones Missionary Church. Several people have been unalived within a 2-mile radius of the church. Unexplained activity has been discovered and known to follow people home. Uh, who've come to the church, and bypassers, uh, people who have been just simply innocently passing by and otherwise have been known to have very bad things happen to them. Uh, Another church that's very well known to be haunted is the Wheat Community Church. Um, it's a very small church. It has a very small cemetery beside it. Uh, the church was said to uh, not really be a church that was very active. It always had a small congregation uh, since its opening in the 1940s. Is said that the minister there went mad and hung himself. And on Halloween night, you can still see the rope swinging with blood on it. Um, so, in a city with such high strangeness, again, like I said, there's several places that are reported to be haunted there. Um, One of the things that I find very interesting about Oak Ridge is that it is never, ever not a source of high strangeness when it comes to cryptids and cryptid sightings. One of the things that have been reported there, which I have not been able to confirm, um, like in the sense of being able to confirm some of the Bigfoot sightings, is sightings of Mothman, which I understand happen around the Y12 uh, facility there. But again, I have not been able to find absolute confirmation of that. The Oak Ridge Reservation is a 33,000 acre site, which once was home to the Manhattan Project. It was it was part of the uranium enrichment facilities. That's hard to say today for some reason. There have been many Bigfoot sightings around this reservation, uh, and some of those um, have been quite terrifying, to be honest with you. There is speculation about Bigfoot activity and the area's past nuclear research. Um, Speculation that the radiation, oh boy, or an electromagnetic field generated by the reservation's facilities have attracted Bigfoot somehow, or played a part in the creature's alleged abilities and elusiveness. So the idea here is that um, either the radiation or an electromagnetic field that's been created there by the facility itself somehow has enhanced the creature and the creature's abilities somehow. That's all speculation, but it's very possible, to be honest with you. 1942, Major General Leslie Groves chose the site of Oak Ridge to be the location for developing minerals for the Manhattan Project. Late 1942, two K23 and S50 and Y12 plants were built, and their primary or their main focus, their real focus, was to separate uranium 235 from natural uranium. The large town that was built on the other end of the valley was really meant to house and entertain the massive amount of workers that were there. The population at the end of the war in Oak Ridge was around 70,000 people. Uh, Interestingly enough, one of the things that happened in the Oak Ridge area in the 1950s was this seemingly overwhelming amount of UFO activity in that area. Um, Matter of fact, it almost looked like at one point that UFOs were going to take over Oak Ridge. There's a few reports that were highlighted for that time period and are were listed with the government, the FBI. The first encounter took place on October the 13th at the Atomic Energy Security Patrol Trooper Edward D. Reimer and John Moneymaker, a caretaker of the University of Tennessee Research Farm, observed some sort of aircraft in an area outside loop of about 12,000 to 15,000 feet above Solway Gate in the control zone. The pear-shaped object, which left behind distinct vapor trails. Hold on to that, because vapor trails is something that the chemtrails is something that is highly controversial, in especially in East Tennessee in modern day. The object which left behind distinct vapor trails, went into a dive and then slowly flew parallel to the ground. When Trooper Reimer walked toward the object, it suddenly shrank in size and began to move southeastern. In a complex series of maneuvers, the object managed to clear a 9-foot chain link fence, a willow tree, and telephone lines before soaring over a hill a mile away. The captain of the Atomic Energy Commission, Joe Zarzinski, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, also saw the unidentified flying object, and his description matches that of Reimer and Moneymaker. Very interesting situation. October the 20th at 3:27 p.m., Pilot Wolf with the 5th AW Fighter Squad was sent on a mission to investigate a radar sighting of several targets. Wolf radioed back that the objects were between 25 miles away from the Knoxville airport. It was unable to identify the objects. Another eyewitness account of a UFO occurred on October the 20th at 4:55 p.m. Larry P. Royden, the superintendent of security in the control zone, was driving onto the Oak Ridge agricultural farm when he saw a balloon-like object. A balloon-like object. Very important description there. Directly above the University of Tennessee Agricultural Research Farm. Something seemed to be hanging below the bottom of the object. The balloon, which was gunmetal gray in color and between 8 and 10 feet long, hovered about a quarter of a mile away from Royden. He said that he drove around a curb. The object seemed to grow thinner. Royden saw his UFO at exactly the same time that Pilot Wolf saw his. Gets even better. On October the 23rd, an unidentified man was driving on the Benton Valley when he saw an object fly between 1,000 and 2,000 feet over the Scarborough School. which is within the control zone. This control zone is very interesting. He describes the object as an aluminum flash, which was moving southeast at first. Then it crossed the road and entered a rapid descent and noiselessly disappeared over the ridge. At the same time, a Geiger counter in the area registered a reading for alpha and beta particles. October 24th at 6:45 p.m., William B. Fry, Assistant Chief of Security, was watching a movie at a drive-in theater with his family when he noticed a flying object moving back and forth horizontally within 30 degrees of his line of sight. The color of the glowing object changed from red to green to blue-green to blue to orange. The object was also seen by Fry's wife and by the projectionist. 10 minutes later, Air Force Major Lawrence Ballweg observed the same flying object from his house. He continued watching it until it disappeared at 7:20 p.m. The 4-day sightings at Oak Ridge are still a mystery. The declassified FBI reports from which the information was taken took care to point out that most witnesses were level-headed individuals who worked either as military or as security personnel. Security Division of Oak Ridge, the Air Force radar and fighter squadrons. The FBI rejected insects, swarms, flights of birds, flying kites, objects thrown from the ground, mass hysteria, balloons of any description, and practical jokers as possible explanations. So all of that was ruled out. The most imaginative residents of Oak Ridge wondered if alien visitors were attracted to the atomic city by the role played in the Manhattan Project only a few years before. So a lot of high strangeness in and around the Oak Ridge area. It appears, when we talk about the secret city, there's just a very interesting energy over that area. It appears frequently that, that some very unexplained things obviously happen there. UFO sightings are just one of the things that are very predominant there. Frankly, the thing that really is curious to me overall is the recent sightings of Mothman type creature there. Now, one of the things I will say is that the Mothman sightings do sometimes correspond with the sightings of giant owls. They seem to be interchangeable almost at times. So when I say that, I say that to kind of clarify the fact that maybe, just maybe, not all of the Mothman sightings are actually Mothman sightings. I think we need to be very careful when it comes to, especially when it comes to cryptid sightings, to clarify for sure. And I understand it's very hard, especially when it comes to Mothman sightings, to clarify whether you're actually seeing the Mothman or you're seeing a giant owl, because there are very, very big similarities between the two in some ways. The glowing red eyes, for instance, the giant owls are reported to have very specific glowing orangish red eyes. The stature of these animals, these creatures. Um, the giant owls have been reported up to about 10 feet tall. Mothman usually reports to be somewhere between 7 and 10 feet tall. Uh, the coloration, the blacker than black color of the Mothman and the giant owls are very similar. So it's very easy to misidentify in some ways the two. However, one of the things that just stand out to me is that the Mothman appears almost headless uh, in the sightings, except for those glowing red eyes. So I think it's one of those things where, owls have a very distinct head. Um, it does rise above their body. So I think it's very easy for us to um, distinguish between the two to a point. Um, but with that said, again, paying attention to the fact that some Mothman sightings could be a misidentification of a giant owl sighting. There have been a rash of Mothman sightings in and around the Chicago area over a period of time as well. So the fact that we're seeing those in and around Oak Ridge now does not surprise me altogether. Again, Oak Ridge's high strangeness. Uh, there's rumors, and some people theorize that there is a particle collider housed in Oak Ridge, and that it is responsible for having opened at least one portal there. So it's very, very important for us to understand that the scope of things that are happening there, the scope of things that are carried on there, we really don't fully understand right now. We just don't have the information we need to make a sane judgment of exactly what's going on and what they're doing at the Oak Ridge facilities. I do know that the Y12 facility, I believe it is, there toward the front of the secret city, uh, is a huge area. It is apparently still very active. I don't know what they do there, whether it's still a uranium or a uranium enrichment um, facility or not. I'm more prone to believe it is not, but what they're doing there exactly is the question now. Could that be where the particle collider is stored or housed at? Possibly so. Um, One of the things for sure, though, is that the secret city is definitely a city of high strangeness. It is a focal point um, for the projects that are going on in Tennessee, I believe. Uh, the fact that it is kind of nestled between the um, Cumberland Ridge and the mountains there in the Smoky Mountain National Park, both areas of high strangeness and um, areas of heavy interest with mineral heavy and um, just kind of areas that are known for being important to the occult and metaphysical world. It's just it. I'm kind of choosing my words carefully here today for reasons. But honestly, the location of Oak Ridge, I mean, it was like I said, one of three secret cities built in the country to protect the Manhattan Project. And in particular, one of the things I wanted to bring up and to you guys is, the Alexander Inn was built specifically for um, temporary housing for people who were there at Oak Ridge um, for short term working on the project there, and they would be traveling back and forth between these secret cities a lot of times to share information and that sort of thing. So the Alexander House has a lot of energy there from those visitors. There were people, very high ranking people, that stayed there at times. There was a lot of conversation, I'm sure, about the things that happened in and around the Oak Ridge facility. But the location of the city itself, though, is no accident. The fact that it's nestled, like I said, between the Cumberland Ridge, which is a very high active, high strangeness area, also very active in um, the production of natural gas and so forth like that. There's a lot of human activity there in the Cumberland Ridge area. Um, and the Great Smoky Mountain National Park, again, a place that's very mineral heavy, a place that is very a lot of human activity obviously goes on there. Um, so with that said, the importance of Oak Ridge to whatever they're doing here in Tennessee, whatever Tennessee is about, um, is incredibly important overall. Um, I would like to point out the. I kind of want to see this on a map, to be honest with you. Uh, um, I want to see kind of how they fall in line with each other. I mean, this gives you some indication of Mount Shasta is the red dot there, and the end of the line there is Oak Ridge. And they don't fall in line with each other so much, but it is southeastward from Oak Ridge. It looks like there's like you go up um, northwest to Shasta, and then from Shasta you go kind of descending northeast for a while, and then you kind of like go in this almost sort of line to a point up until you get to about right here in this area, and that's where it starts making its southeastern descent downward. But as you can see, like I said, it's not quite in a line. I'm trying to let me get this back. There we go. It's not quite in alignment, but it's not exactly um, not in alignment, if that makes sense. So if you drew a straight line from Shasta to over where Oak Ridge is, it would put you, let's see, would actually put you square into Indiana, oddly enough. And almost, almost right into Indy itself. Let me see. Yeah, it would put you just north of Indianapolis in Indiana. Um, well, that's not actually accurate either. It would put you like north of Daytona or Dayton, Dayton. So, like these areas here are more in alignment with Mount Shasta than Oak Ridge is. So it's a bit up. But I find that very interesting that um, the areas where in Illinois does it that would put it like Peoria, Illinois would be pretty much kind of in alignment with Mount Shasta. Very interesting indeed. So yeah, there's that. But so anyway, I feel like I'm kind of rambling today, but one of the thing that I really want to point out here is that in my research on Oak Ridge, the secret city, I believe there's definitely a strong connection between Oak Ridge and the high strangeness of in Tennessee in particular. I believe that the military facility being located where it is, um, kind of nestled between the Cumberland Plateau area and the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. I do not believe that is a coincidence. I believe there's a reason for that. I believe there's also a reason why the collider is there, housed there now in that location, and I do believe that um, altogether, somehow along the line, somehow, all of this connects together in a way that utilizes the energy of that area, the energy of that area combined with the 33rd parallel energy, the dragon energy of that area, um, somehow combines together in a very interesting way, um, to suit the needs of the United States government and secret societies in some way. How exactly that is, I'm not sure just yet, but um, I do feel that there is definitely a connection there somehow. And as we go along with investigating more of the paranormal, more about the UFO and cryptid sightings, and I get more information about uh, the history and so forth, connected to all this. I'm sure in time it will lay a pathway to an answer of some sort, to give us some idea of exactly what we're experiencing, why we're experiencing the things we're experiencing in Tennessee, and why the Tennessee project is a vital project in the scope of the world stage. So I hope that I've given you something to fall back on, something to research, something to look at, and do some introspective research on, or I guess, um, in this. And I hope very much so that you gather what you need with this and understand the importance of Oak Ridge to the overall expansion of what is happening in Tennessee and what's happening in and around the 33rd parallel, and how all of this plays together uh, to create a very interesting, um, what's the word I'm looking for here? An interesting mechanism, we'll say, for uh, whatever it is that they are planning, whatever it is that they are working on for the world stage. I definitely want to point out the fact and highlight the fact that the cryptid activity in and around Oak Ridge, especially in the control zone, how high it is, and the connection with UFO phenomena again. I always find that very interesting indeed. Anyway, again, I hope this was somewhat helpful and somewhat useful. Uh, those of you who are doing research and investigating these things, give me some feedback. Let me know what you think in the comments um, about the secret city and about the information that I've shared today. Hopefully, it will give you something to go back on and uh, do some more research on, and maybe come up with answers. Anyway, until next time, may your journey always be magical.